Team, welcome back to another 5-minute fitness tip, or tip in 5 minutes. Now, today we're going to be talking about keto. When is the best time to go keto? Or what is keto? You may not know what keto is. I'm pretty sure you probably would. But if you don't, it is pretty much a zero carb diet. Does it get shat on quite a lot by a lot of people? Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of people just diminish it. They just throw it away. I actually think it has some application. So pretty much keto, zero carbs, or trace carbs as much as you want. You reduce your body to the point that it has literally no carbohydrates, and it goes into ketosis, and you start running on fats pretty much. I know a couple of mates that do it, ripped to shit they are. But it's very difficult to actually get into that state in the first place, and you start going all weird and all this type of stuff. But I actually think it has some application. Do I think it has application to bodybuilding and building a physique? Probably not, because we are using carbohydrates as our main fuel source, same as like myself. However, when do I think it's applicable to people? Possibly dropping a hell of a lot of body fat. Say you're a 120 kilo male, going to a zero carb diet, or you don't even have to say it can get close to keto. When I say keto, there's still going to be like your vegetables and fruits, which I think are incredibly important for a diet. I would say for someone who needs to lose a lot of weight, yeah, let's maybe go into a kind of keto-ish diet. Bring those carbs all the way down. Let your body just run on the body fat that you've got. Use that energy that you have with, how much body fat you do have, and just burn through it. You do not need pretty much any carbs if you need to lose a hell of a lot of body fat. Now, the problem with this is that people find it difficult to stick to, and I get that. You really have to be in the mindset of, right, I'm going to really reduce my carbohydrate intake, and I'm just going to have fruits and vegetables as my main carb source. How would that actually play out in a kind of real life, in meals throughout the day? Well, you could have eggs, salmon, and avocado for breakfast. You could have chicken and vegetables for lunch. You could have fish and vegetables for dinner. Anything that doesn't really have your rice, potatoes is a vegetable, but we'll probably keep that out. Sourdough, bagels, biscuits, all that type of stuff you want to stay away from, and you can do it. I see people do it. I see very overweight people stick to a very low carb diet to drop body fat. I think it's brilliant. But you've got to remember, you've got to then cycle out of that, because that's why such a minority of people do it. It's because it's very, very, very hard to stick to. So I think it applies to people that need to lose a lot of body fat. And then once they get to the point where they've lost quite a lot, then they need to start reversing and start including carbohydrates in again, because it's going to be more sustainable for the long term. There are females that I've brought down to literally fuck all carbs for a certain period of time, just to try and pull off some body fat, because like a photo shoot kind of style, but very short amount of time. So there are two ends of the spectrum. So lose loads of body fat, definitely. For me right now, I've gone from 101 kilos to 96 kilos. My carbs have still been high. I've had a minimum of 200 grams of carbs anyway, and I should be about 250. But I wouldn't be able to live with that. I train very, very hard. Trying to use fat for fuel while you're training performance is very, very difficult. So it's really more so for the people that need to lose a hell of a lot of weight, reverse out of that, start including carbs to make that sustainable over time. And then if there's physique development, probably not. It's harder to build muscle, in my opinion. You may build loads of muscle and then go into a keto diet and live that like that if you've built up the habits. I know some bodybuilders have, but they've already had that muscle tissue there. They've already got the muscle tissue. So maintaining that's a lot easier to then just keep training and have fats for fuels and proteins. But for most of us, no. So keto, mostly for really overweight people, if they can stick to it. High fat, low carb, fruits and veg, keep it to that. Protein nice and high still. And then maybe someone who needs to, just for a cute amount of time, needs to just drop some little bit of body fat, really get the carbs down, but then bring it back out. So that's my advice for the keto diet, and how I would apply it with a client. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. I'd love to chat about this topic and to know your opinion. And I'll see you on the next one.